Welcome back, everybody. This is the Fantasy Facts podcast brought to you by Fantasy Data. It's early. I'm tired still. This week, it's week 4. Seth and I are going to, these are starts, sits, breaking news, and notes. You ready?
Yeah, everything you need for week 4.
Let's get it.
Rapid fire, too. Bam. These are the Fantasy Facts with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
I could hear you struggling back there.
I was a little slower on that one. It's early. I'm working.
It is.
I still got my collared shirt on and everything for my Zoom meetings. No, it's business up front, party down below.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. Seth has the Thursday night game, and here we go.
All right, Thursday night we have Miami traveling to Cincinnati. They had to travel early with Hurricane Ian on its way. And their practice just got leaked all over Twitter. Their closed practice at the University of Cincinnati. So that is an interesting little go there. But in terms of fantasy production, we have a pretty good game here. It's one of the highest projected fantasy outputs of the week, which is a great way to start off a Thursday night. Miami's been on a hot streak. I don't think according to the latest notes, Tua's going to play, Waddle's going to play, Hill's going to play. They're all going to be out there, which I think if you have them, you got to play them on a Thursday night, unless something comes out between now. We're recording at 10:08 a.m. If something comes out between now and game time tonight around 8 o'clock Eastern time, obviously you got to make the change. But I'm firing up Tyreek. I'm firing up Tua. I'm firing up Waddle. In desperate situations at running back, I might fire up Chase Edmonds. Other than that, I'm not touching anybody else in this Miami offense. If Tua goes down, not if he goes down, but if he doesn't play, then that becomes a little bit more of a question mark for me with those guys. I'm probably still rolling them out because I probably don't have any other like studs to throw out there. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with them. Cincinnati. Oh, go ahead.
So just make sure you're not starting any Thursday night players in the flex.
Bingo.
Can you do that for me, please?
Always a good PSA, Pat. Thank you for that. On the flip side of the ball, we have Joe Burrow firing up Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, of course, you're firing up Joe Mixon. It did sound like he was questionable, but again, it looks like he's going to play. Firing him up. T. Higgins firing him up. And a sneaky play, especially in DFS, because I'd have to check what his price is. But Tyler Boyd has been sneakily involved in this offense over the past week or so. So something worth checking in on.
By the way, how T. Higgins took 2 nasty shots.
Oh, yeah.
How is he, was he not concussed? And if he was not concussed, I'm not a doctor, but if he was not concussed, how?
Yeah. I mean,
that is, I'm very surprised to see him being a full participant. What?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Concussions are weird. I think that's just the baseline of it. Concussions are weird. And some hits where you're like, wow, that dude definitely got concussed. It's like, no, it really wasn't that bad. It looks worse when you watch it in 5 different angles in slow motion. In real life, it wasn't that bad. I mean, and then it looks like a regular football play and they get concussed. So concussions are weird, but yeah, I don't know, Pat. To answer your question, I don't know. But if I have T. Higgins, he's in my lineup for Thursday night.
Yep.
On to you, Pat.
All right, so we have an early game Sunday morning. This is the London game. This is Minnesota. Technically, the away team, New Orleans, is the home team. We'll start with a quick injury update. All these injury updates are coming from CBS Sports. So for the Vikings, Dalvin Cook did not practice yesterday. And for the Saints, Jameis Winston did not practice, dealing with back and ankle injuries. Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry did not practice as well. Alvin Kamara was limited. So there are some big names here on the injury report that you need to monitor, especially on the Saints side. It sounds like Kamara is going to be good to go, but Winston, Thomas, and Dalvin Cook, keep your eyes out. Make those adjustments early Sunday because, again, it's a 9:30 start Sunday morning. Let's get into some projections here. Alvin Kamara projected 16 points. Jameis Winston, 15.5. Chris Olave, 13. Michael Thomas, 12. I'm starting Kamara. I'm starting Olave. Michael Thomas, I'm hesitant to put him in the lineup until I get a positive practice report or at least hear something good from him, from the Saints about Michael Thomas. Jameis Winston, super flex leagues, maybe. One quarterback leagues, I'm probably not starting him. And then really Jarvis Landry, Mark Ingram, Juwan Johnson. I'm not interested in any of those guys. Over on the Minnesota side, Justin Jefferson, 18 points projected. You're starting him. Kirk Cousins, you're probably rolling him out in most leagues, especially definitely super flex leagues. Dalvin Cook, again, monitor the injury reports and check and make sure Madison is not on waivers. If he is on waivers, go get him right now. Personally, I know Adam Thielen had a pretty good bounce back game against the Lions. I want no part of Adam Thielen. I would go KJ Osborne over Adam Thielen. And that's really where it stops for me with the Vikings. So we got a full day of Sunday. We got the London game, and then we got the normal slate. So it's going to be a long day Sunday of watching football.
Yeah, and I'm
here for it.
I'm excited for it.
Yep.
All right, up next we have Cleveland and the Browns. The Browns have a plethora. That's right, a plethora.
Hold on, wait.
It's
Cleveland at Atlanta. You said Cleveland and the Browns.
Oh,
it is early.
It is early.
It's 10 o'clock.
Cleveland at Atlanta. Thank you. The Browns have a plethora of questionable people, but none of them really fantasy relevant, so you don't have to worry about that. Corduro Patterson took a day off of practice. I think it's just one of those veteran type of days. I'm not going to get to it. I'm not going to read too much into it. He is one of my favorite starts of this game, along with the running backs on the other side of the ball. I am all excited for Chubb, Hunt, and Cordero Patterson. I'm firing them up wherever I can.
There's a Chubb joke in there somewhere. I'm just too tired to make it.
There's definitely there's always a Chubb joke. In terms of pass catchers, I'm reluctantly starting Amari Cooper, and that's only because he's been doing fine. It's just I'm waiting for the shoe to drop and for him to have his disappearing game. Like he's been.
You've offended me.
Why?
With this Amari Cooper slander.
I don't know. Having watched him for so many years with the Cowboys, watching him with the Raiders. There's games where Cooper disappears. He disappears, and it's going to happen at some point. So I'm starting him. I'm starting him reluctantly, anticipating that there's going to be a week where he drops out. Right? He is Jacoby Brissett's favorite target right now, so I'm going to let that keep happening. But I also Jacoby Brissette, and I put this out this morning. Jacoby Brissette is one of two quarterbacks that have not been over 50% of their team's offense. Have not been over it yet. Every other quarterback has been well above it, and there's only been 7 other quarterbacks that have been below it for even 1 week. Jacoby Brissette has been always below it, along with Justin Fields. But anyways, not excited about the passing game in Cleveland. So I will throw Cooper in my lineups because he's been fine. I'm not looking for Njoku, Peoples-Jones, stuff like that unless I absolutely need to. On the flip side of the ball, I'm going to play London in the flex because he is the pretty much main pass catcher in Atlanta. And then right next to him is finally Kyle Pitts, who finally is getting some involvement because he's the best player or one of the best players on that Atlanta offense. And you need to get the ball to your best player, whether it's fantasy or real football, Arthur Smith. But that joke's probably played out. So Kyle Pitts, keep rolling him out there. He might be. You don't know. I honestly like Cleveland at home in this game. They're getting 1.5. And it's actually a relatively high over-under at 49. It's one of the highest in the of the week. So I think we're going to get some points scored in this game. And I'm excited to see where that goes because this is probably the biggest discrepancy in over-under at 49, but projected fantasy points, it's one of the lowest where both teams are projected at the entire team's only being in the low to mid 80s, low to high 80s. So excited for points to be scored in that game. Pat?
Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see. Washington, not a whole lot in the injury report there for Dallas. Dak obviously didn't practice. Dalton Schultz was limited. Michael Gallup was a full participant, so look for him to make his debut this week. On the Dallas side, we have CeeDee Lamb, guys that I'm starting, no questions asked here. CeeDee Lamb, Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard. Guys that I might start, Cooper Rush, especially in a Superflex league. He's been productive. He's been startable in the Superflex league. Noah Brown and Michael Gallup are kind of that question mark for me. How much are they going to cannibalize each other? I still think it's Noah Brown this week as Gallup gets worked back in, and I would expect to see Gallup back to a normal kind of full participation by week 7 or week 8. So give Noah Brown a little more run this week and the next week, and then by week 8, Michael Gallup should overtake Noah Brown in terms of participation in that Dallas offense. Over to Washington. See, the way you feel about Amari Cooper, Seth, is how I feel about that Washington offense, because they're led by Carson Wentz. Now, Wentz is projected to put up the most fantasy points for Washington this week. He's projected at 16. I'm staying away from Washington and Carson Wentz. I'm Antonio Gibson, yes. And after that, you're relying pretty heavily. You got McLaurin, Samuel, Dotson, Logan Thomas. I actually like Logan Thomas as a deeper tight end this week. He's had some pretty good connectivity with Carson Wentz, but I just don't trust that offense with Carson Wentz at the helm. So I personally downgrade the Washington offense, except for Antonio Gibson.
Real quick, if you're playing in a league where sacks take away from your quarterback scoring, especially if it's a significant takeaway, the Cowboys are leading the league in sacks through 3 games, and that defense looks like it is on a mission to attack the quarterback.
So that sounds like a good DFS play right there. Load up on the Cowboys defense,
especially a opportunistic team. If they can go back to that opportunistic type of takeaway setup, Carson Wentz is prone to give away the ball. The Cowboys defense might be primed for a really big game here.
I like it. All right, let's go. Oh, you get my Lions this week. Be nice.
Is that where we're going? That's where we're going next.
Seattle at Detroit. Yep.
So Seattle at Detroit.
Be nice, please.
Pat's Lions. You know what? I am going to be nice, because you know who I think is going to win this game? Detroit. Detroit has been the second leading scoring team in the NFL, and Seattle has not been. And so this is a game where if Detroit can move the ball against Seattle, and the big question mark when we think about this game, the big question mark is going to be DeAndre Swift, right? That is the number one question mark. Is going to be Will Swift's Swift's shoulder.
It's shoulder ankle. He's pretty banged up.
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised if Swift played.
Yeah, really? Oh, that hurts. But and then the other one is Amon-Ra St. Brown and his ankle, and so a couple of injury pieces to pay attention to there. Really check them out. Luckily, it's a regular Sunday 1:00 game, so you have a little bit of time to be able to get there and see what's going on. Hopefully, they can both play. Pat's pessimistic, but that might just be him being an aching Lions fan. If Amon-Ra cannot go, I think that helps Hawkinson out a little bit. I think it helps Shark or Reynolds maybe. I think it moves them into flex consideration. It does not move them into that. I want them starting at one of my wide receiver spots. The way that Amon-Ra was.
Yeah, no, I mean, if Swift is out, then I want Jamal Williams anywhere.
Yes, Jamal Williams is a fine play there, and then a deep stash, which we talked about earlier in the week too. Craig Reynolds is a possibility, especially if you can grab him now before if Swift is going to be out. I heard rumors that he might be out for like 4 weeks, all the way up until the Lions bye. I really hope it's not that, because the Lions offense has actually been fun to watch, Pat. They've been fun to watch. He could be an option, especially if they keep that split. Again, not excited to play him. Not going into any managed lineups that I'm doing. Maybe throw him into DFS if I have a little extra change. I'm doing a whole bunch of different lineups. On the Seattle side of the ball, actually, I'll throw both of them in there. Goff and Geno Smith, they're your super flex. Like, hey, I have a guy I have a warm body. I need a QB2. He's going to do better than a flex play that I'm going to throw in there. So, yes, both of them are that. I am not excited about really much out there for the Seattle team. This could be a get-right game for Metcalf or Lockett, as long as they're not facing who Pat? Jeff?
El Jefe, Jeff Okudah. I saw Metcalf tweeted something out about Okudah had safety. I didn't read too much into it yet, but I saw Metcalf is already chirping at Okudah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see who wins that one.
If I have that up real quick.
If I have Metcalf, I'm probably playing him. I'm probably not excited to play him, but I'm probably playing him. And Lockett, very similar. If I have him, I might be throwing him into the lineup. It really depends on who else I have. I mean, Metcalf and Lockett are both projected for 14 and 13 points, which is a pretty decent output. I don't like either of them really at that point. And then Rashad Penny is the highest projected running back, which I think he should be. But again, I'm not really excited about any of these Seattle offensive players. I'm playing a couple if I have them, but I'm not playing them with very much confidence. I
am two things. So DK Metcalf talking, this is from some local Detroit at Woodward Sports. Okudah got a safety behind him. He's not really locking people down. That's DK Metcalf on Jeff Okudah.
Okay.
So there's that. I am probably higher. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Seattle running backs real quick.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm higher on the Seattle running backs than I probably am on the Seattle wide receivers, and that's not because of Jeff Okudah. That's just because the Lions' run defense and the Lions' tackling ability has been, we'll call it subpar. So, from a DFS strategy position, we've got Kenny Walker and Rashad Penny coming in at like $4,800, $4,900 on DraftKings. I'm all for one or both of them in multiple lineups this week.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. I'm not thrilled to have them in my starting lineup in a managed league, though. I think that's what it is. I think I can work them in with Detroit, but chances are I probably have a better running back option out there, depending on my lineup. But I think that's really it. Like I'm not excited to fire them up. They have one of the Seattle Seahawks are one of the lowest projected fantasy points teams out there, and Detroit has almost 15 points more that they're projected to get. So I think that Detroit has the opportunity. I'm happier to start a lot of the Detroit players than I am the Seattle players. So
that's
on
fair.
to you, Pat. But I think Detroit wins. Detroit wins. There we go. That's your point.
Thank you. All right, let's go. Tennessee at Indy. As far as injuries go, Treylon Burks missed practice on Wednesday. Austin Hooper also missed on Wednesday. Kyle Phillips was limited. Jonathan Taylor missed his first ever practice with a toe issue. Nothing sounds too serious as far as an injury on either side, so I'm not expecting anyone from a fantasy perspective to miss this game. You're starting Jonathan Taylor, you're starting Michael Pittman, and maybe you're starting Matt Ryan in the Superflex League if you absolutely have to. I was all in on this Colts offense. They have soured on me very quickly. You're going to start your studs. You're going to start Thomas. You're going to start Jonathan Taylor. You're going to start Michael Pittman, and that's probably it on the Indy side. I'm not touching Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, Ashton Doolin, any of the tight ends, and Matt Ryan's a big question mark for me. On the Tennessee side, again, you're starting your studs. You're starting Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill is that perfect superflex quarterback. Bobby Trees is probably a guy that you're going to start, and then it gets tricky with Burks being injured. Again, I'm not expecting him to miss time, so you're probably going to plug him in as well. And after that, I want no part of Hooper, really anyone else on Tennessee. It's going to sound crazy. I actually like Indy to win this game, and hopefully we get to see a little bit of that breakout offense that we are expecting out of the Colts this year.
Yeah, I could see Indy winning this game. Tennessee has not been a dominant force, and the Colts have a really strong run defense. And so if the Colts can stop Derrick Henry, I think that pretty much that's the Titans are dead in the water. So I agree. I think Indy can win this game. The -3 though makes me slightly nervous because I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
no, this
I don't
is
know
straight.
if the Colts can get quite that far.
Yeah, we're not talking against the spread here.
Yeah, no. So from one of the top five lowest spreads, not spreads, but over-unders in the league in Tennessee and Indy to the lowest over-under in the league, the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Ew. This is a gross game. It is the lowest. It's the lowest over-under. The Bears are the lowest projected team out of all of the teams, and the Giants are the second lowest. They're the third lowest projected team of all the teams, and the overall. Well, granted, there's both two of the three lowest. It's the lowest overall projected fantasy points to be scored out of all of the games. I'm firing up Saquon Barkley, and then really nobody else unless I have to. I think you have to play Khalil Herbert, mostly just because of how well he played with David Montgomery out.
And how committed Chicago is to running the ball.
Right, especially that Montgomery didn't practice on Wednesday. It'll be really interesting. You have to keep an eye on what happens with David Montgomery. They are committed to running the ball, like I mentioned. The Bears are the only other team where Justin Fields has been under 50% of that offense, which is passing, running, receiving. That's what I count as percent of offense. And he's handling the ball less than 50% of the time, which is just bizarre in this modern day of football. So I'm not excited about really anybody out there. As for the Giants, Shepard is done for the season, tore his ACL, which is absolutely sad for him. And then you have, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney, like they're trying to get back in, but it looks like they're still not practicing. Probably will not.
The Giants need to get healthy. That's first. They need to get healthy. Then they need someone to step up because it's not Kenny Galladay. As much as he wants to talk, it's not Kenny Galladay.
It's definitely not Kenny Galladay.
Right? I mean, Richie James, David. I mean, Richie James. It's a good story. David Sills, again, pretty good story. But you have Toney and you have Wan'Dale, guys that you've invested significant draft capital in. Get them healthy. Now's your chance to get them involved and cut them loose and see what happens. But get healthy first. And I agree. Barkley is a must start, and then after that, you only start someone if you absolutely have to on that Giants offense.
Yeah, and I think Richie James is in PPR leagues. Richie James is like what Jacoby Myers was a couple of years ago, where he's gonna get 8 to 10 targets, and he's probably gonna get like 8. He's probably gonna get like 6 to 10 catches, and he's gonna end up with maybe like 50 yards. 60 yards. And so that's a PPR league. Yeah. That's a double digit outing. That's fine.
That's what you want.
But he's not going to get you anything special. Right. So he's worth having, he's worth playing when you're in a pinch, but are you really expecting much out of him? Not really. No. And I see you just moved your highlighter on him there, Pat. Daniel Bellinger is a fantastic story. He's worth throwing out there at certain times. So he's going to produce more than he's expected to.
He's the guy. If you're in a deeper tight end league, tight end premium league, you need to have Daniel Bellinger on your bench. You're not going to start him anytime soon, but he's a guy that, as a rookie who started, can develop rapport with Daniel Jones, and you can build off that. He's not going to be Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts or Travis Kelce. He's going to be your Kyle Rudolph, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy that does everything right, and it keeps him on the field, and it keeps him involved.
Yep, agreed.
All right, let's. Can we move on to Jacksonville, Philly?
Yeah, we do not need to spend any extra breath on the Bears and Giants.
All right, Jacksonville at Philly. I was surprised to see this come in at an over-under of 47. I expected this to be a little bit higher because these teams can flat out score. And I cannot. This is the Sunday afternoon game that I want to watch probably the most because Jacksonville's been a great story. I have a ton invested in Philly from a fantasy perspective, so I need to see this game. I need to watch this game. I actually, believe it or not, I like Jacksonville, and I like this game to be a shootout.
I mean, I think Philly's defense is going to be too much for Jacksonville.
Okay, that's fair.
And honestly, I feel like both of these defenses are. I like the under in this game because I like both of these defenses, and I like Jacksonville plus the points. Jacksonville has invested a lot into their front seven defense. Philly has a really good defense with Darius Slay out there. Like they have both of those defenses can be very good. Now both of the offenses, like Jacksonville's been moving in the right direction. And Philly's been doing Philly things with Jalen Hurts.
So let me get into. So Philly has Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. All four of them, all projected double-digit points. Jalen Hurts is up at 23. I'm starting all four of them in any format, anywhere. Miles Sanders, I'm kind of questionable on just because it's Miles Sanders.
Fair.
It just I haven't it's too up and down. So I'm rolling those four out: Hurts, Brown, Smith, and Goddard. No questions asked. Any format, any league. On the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is turning into like borderline startable in one quarterback leagues. You're definitely starting him in Superflex league. Christian Kirk must start. James Robinson must start. And now we get into the next tier: the Zay Jones, the Travis Etienne, the Marvin Jones Jr.'s, the guys that have produced, albeit in a limited basis, and you kind of have to get it right. Like Marvin Jones scored last week. Travis Etienne, he's probably going to get you double-digit points, but he probably tops out about 10 or 12, unless he finds the end zone, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Zay Jones. Again, he's projected a double-digit points. I don't know if we're going to see it, and if we do, it's going to be right at that 10, 12-point range. Great for wide receiver 3 numbers. If he finds the end zone, even better. But as far as a Jacksonville perspective, man, I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Christian Kirk. I like James Robinson. By the way, James Robinson is just going to smash all of the tropes about undrafted free agent, Achilles injury. He's going to just break down both of those.
Unless and knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen. I don't hope for injuries, but unless he does pop something, like it's been 3 weeks. And he's been great for 3 weeks, and so I think he is smashing some of that stuff. I think there's still a whole lot of season left where the fall off could be coming. And honestly, the way that he's playing, I think it happens if he gets injured. So again, knock on wood. Not saying I want him to or anything like that. I like the fact that he's kind of breaking my usual undrafted free agent running backs. Right. I'm not too interested. But all right, Baltimore.
Yeah. No, you got.
No, that's you. You didn't talk about Baltimore yet. Oh no, you. Sorry,
no, I did.
You did Philly. You already. You were too fast, Pat. You changed too fast. All right. I have the Jets and the Steelers, which I don't know why. Pat, we need to shift up the system here because I got every crappy team out there.
You have assigned the games for the last 2 weeks. This is all on you.
It's the order that they come in. All right, so another one of the lowest over unders at 41.5. Another one of the lowest projected points for the Steelers, and the Jets really aren't too far off, 88 and 92 respectively, and one of the lowest outputs combined for the game in terms of projected points. On the Pittsburgh side, we talked a little bit about this on the Tuesday show. I like Deontay Johnson and his volume. I think it's going to eventually turn into some fantasy points for you. The biggest anchor is holding him back is Mitch Trubitsky, and just how bad and anemic that offense is. I do not like Chase Claypool, even though he's right at 6 targets. It's like they have a limit. They're like, all right, we got to get him to 6. We're not doing 7 though, but we're gonna make sure if he's at 5, we're gonna get him to 6. Because he's got exactly 6 each week so far. I don't mind rolling out Pat Freiermuth, especially in a depleted tight
Yeah.
end position.
Fryermuth, I think he's if you have him, you're starting him every week.
Yeah. I think I have him benched in the league because I have like Freiermuth and Goddard or something like that,
Okay.
and I'd rather play Goddard, but whatever. And if you have Najee, you're rolling out Najee. And it seems like that whole Liz Frank sprain grade 1 whatever thing that was a big deal in the preseason seems to not really be hampering him, at least in terms of his amount of volume he's getting. On the Jets side of the ball, Zach Wilson is supposed to make a return, which makes the Jets essentially DFS plays for me and not really managed league plays for me because I don't want to roll out Zach Wilson in a managed league where I have to get it right. I feel like there's much safer options where I'm going to get guaranteed points. I probably will play Garrett Wilson if I have him just because he's been so good. But again, I don't know what those two are going to look like in a real NFL game because they haven't been able to play one yet. Michael Carter, I am starting with more confidence out of the two of Carter and Breece Hall, but I do like Breece Hall and the direction he's going. The fact that Zach Wilson has not been one to really check the ball down makes me a little bit nervous about Breece Hall because he has gotten most of his work as the receiving back. He's gotten in the end zone on through the receiving work. He had like 10 targets in week 1. And so that's where I'm a little bit nervous about playing Breece Hall. And then Elijah Moore, the other wide receiver there, again, probably not going out of my way to work him into any lineups, but could be a play in DFS because who knows, the Wilson and Elijah Moore connection could be real from last season. They could have developed it, and that could be something worth taking a stab at, especially if I'm doing like some cheap, like quarter, 10-cent dollar entry, and I'm doing multiple ones like that. I don't mind taking the shot there, but in a managed league, I feel like I'll probably have better options to plug in at wide receiver. So not a whole lot in the Jets or Steelers side of the ball.
Yep. So I get the fun game here. I get the Bills at the Ravens. So J.K. Dobbins is back, but he was limited in practice yesterday with a chest injury. Nothing to worry about. Wasn't the knee, wasn't anything, below the waist. So he's good. Should be good to go. On the Buffalo side, let's see. Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis. That's it from an offensive perspective. We're limited yesterday. So again, nothing major there. Expect all of them to suit up and play this week. This game is projected to be the highest scoring of the week. This has an over-under of 51. I like this for the over. Both teams can score. They can score in bunches. You have two of the best quarterbacks, the best wide receiver, the best tight end. This is going to be a fun game to watch. This is, again, in the 1 o'clock slate, another one to watch. Hopefully you can get, flip back and forth and watch Buffalo at Baltimore. But on the Baltimore side, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, you're rolling out. And probably at this point, J.K. Dobbins, you're rolling them out with high confidence being, a top 12 to 15 option or higher at their position. After that, it gets a little dicey with Devin Duvernay, Justice Hill, Isaiah Likely. Although Justice Hill might be a good person to stash and put on your bench, just because John Harbaugh had some good things to say about Justice Hill after the game last week. On the Buffalo side, you got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, starting, no questions asked. Gabe Davis projected 13 points. I'm hesitant to start him, and depending on your roster, you might have some better, less volatile options. But Davis, I starting him with a little bit of hesitancy, I guess. I don't really want to start any of the Buffalo running backs just because there's too many questions there. Singletary, again, projected double-digit points. I don't see him getting there. But after that, it's McKenzie, Knox, Moss. I went full Boston there for some reason with my accent. I just don't like anyone outside of really the big three, Allen, Diggs, and Davis, I guess. So, yeah, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Both teams can score in bunches. I like the over here. I'm not sure about who actually I like to win this game. I guess I'll take Baltimore. Take Baltimore to win in the over. And we got
going with home team advantage. Okay,
I am here. And
yeah, all right.
From Joe, Seth, Cooper Rush is 3-0.
Yes, Cooper Rush. My Cowboys winning.
Yep.
One thing I will say though, with the Bills running back room, Devin Singletary had the second most in terms of percent of offense in week 1, third most in week 2, and then the number 1 most in week 3. So he is being used as one of their top 3 players every week. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of whether or not that's going to translate now into fantasy points. And so I'm not saying force Singletary into your lineups, but I'm saying if you do have an opportunity to get him in there, or I wouldn't be against it if you had to play him, right? Okay. I don't think it's a desperation, like you have to start like a Justice Hill over Devin Singletary, anything crazy like that. All right, moving on. Finally, to a bit of a fun game here. I finally get one good game, Pat. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I get the Chargers traveling to Houston. The Texans are a 5-point underdog, and a decent over-under of 44. It puts them kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of the league. Of course, the Texans are not projected to score very much, and the Chargers are projected to score quite a bit in terms of fantasy points. Herbert, Keenan Allen, and I thought I saw one more in there, was not practicing. Tight end Donald Parham. Not that big a deal. Not practicing on Wednesday. I think it is a maintaining the health of Justin Herbert and his damaged ribs. So I think Herbert's going to play again. Keenan Allen is the question mark of whether or not he comes back. You want to monitor that, not only for Keenan Allen, but also for Mike Williams. I am rolling out Justin Herbert. I'm rolling out Austin Eckler. Eckler's been disappointing, but he has still been highly involved in that Chargers offense. It's just a matter of that involvement turning into points now for him. And I think against this Houston defense, we can definitely see that happen.
So on the Eckler side, I saw a tweet somewhere. It was basically saying Austin Eckler, quarters 1, 2, and 3, he's running back 31. Fourth quarter, he's RB3. So he's picking up the bulk of his points in the fourth quarter. So if we can just shift that throughout the entire game.
Yeah. Let him be used through the whole game. Yeah, that would be nice. I'm also firing up Gerald Everett if I have him as a tight end, streamable tight end type of position, which he's been startable in the past few weeks, or at least going into the week. You're like, all right, I can make a play with this guy. So I'm going to fire up Gerald Everett if I have him. On the Houston side of the ball, Damien Pierce didn't practice because of a hip injury on Wednesday. I'm rolling him out if I have him. Obviously, if he's out, I'm not going to roll him out, but I'm not too concerned. I think this could be one of those things where they want to keep him kind of fresh, because he has been steadily increasing as the focal point of this Texans offense. Brandon Cooks has been disappointing, which goes hand in hand with Davis Mills being a little bit disappointing, as well as Rex Burkhead and Nico Collins. Rex Burkhead, outside of week 1, where I feel like they kind of just wanted that veteran presence out there, he's slowly declined as Damien Pierce is not, I would say greatly increased, but slowly increased all the way up to like 30% of that team offense. So I am not playing Rex Burkhead unless something happens to Pierce. And Nico Collins he's more of a DFS play than any type of startable play. And I guess Rex Burkhead is there too, because if this game gets out of hand and the Chargers are just, whooping the Texans, which is a very likely possibility, it could turn into one of those passing games where Rex Burkhead is out there to protect the quarterback and run out into the flat and give Davis Mills some check down options. But for the most part, I don't really want to start any of the Texans players outside of Cooks, who I'm expecting to rebound as their number 1 wide receiver, and Dameon Pierce, who again, is probably going to get somewhere between 20 and 30+% of that team's offense.
Yep. All right, let's move into the afternoon games here. We got Arizona at Carolina. From an injury perspective, lots of guys dinged up here. AJ Green did not practice Wednesday. James Conner, Greg Dortch, Rondale Moore were all limited on Wednesday. CMC did not practice yesterday because of a thigh injury, and Laviska Shenault was limited yesterday as well. On the Carolina side, I'm only rolling out with high confidence CMC. I know he's injured. He's coming off a DNP yesterday. I'm rolling out McCaffrey. He's projected to put up 20 points. We talked about it Tuesday. His usage is just off the charts. They're going to get him the ball. The points will come. So you're starting CMC with confidence. I'm benching Baker Mayfield. And that's going to put a huge ding on the rest of the pass catchers there. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Laviska Shenault, they're all moved to get dropped down a tier because Baker Mayfield has not been good. I mean, I'm gonna start him. I'm gonna start DJ Moore because he's the wide receiver one, but I don't like it.
I've been benching DJ Moore
Really?
in a couple of leagues, just until and it's not really a DJ Moore thing. It's a Baker Mayfield thing.
It's a quarterback thing, yeah.
And until Baker can show that he can get him the ball, he's unstartable, and it's painful to watch this Panthers offense. It really is. So
on the Arizona side, Kyler Murray must start. Hollywood Brown must start. Zach Ertz must start. James Conner, monitor the injury situation. This is 2 weeks in a row now. He just has underperformed, underproduced every week. I feel like he's got to find the end zone. That's what's going to, increase his fantasy values if he can find the end zone. You're going to start James Conner, but temper the expectations, I feel like. After that, Greg Dortch, been a good story. I think it's going to continue until guys like Rondale Moore are fully healthy and DeAndre Hopkins comes back. But right now, Murray, Brown, Ertz, those are the guys you want. No surprise here. I like Arizona to win this game. Straight up, I like Arizona to beat Carolina.
Yeah,
I don't think that's not a hot take.
I don't think it is either.
All right.
And I'm going to go with another hot take following after you. I think Green Bay beats New England. Boom. Hot takes. Spitting hot fire like Dylan out here. New England is projected to be the second lowest scoring team in all of NFL in terms of fantasy points scored. They're also, in terms of their implied points, projected to be the lowest scoring team in all of the NFL. So not only for real life, but also for fantasy, New England just looks like it's going to be bad. And most of it's because Mac Jones, who wasn't phenomenal in his first couple weeks, is also now out with what looked like a pretty bad ankle injury. At least if you've seen the videos and pictures of him getting carried to the locker room. Anyways, very low scoring game. Should be relatively one-sided. Green Bay is favored by 9.5 points. And I can see them not only winning this game, but also covering that spread against just a completely beat up New England, inept New England team. Outside of that, there's not really too much to talk about in terms of injuries. There's a couple of limited participants in there, but for me, I'm going to go with that. Probably means that they're all going to play. Jacoby Myers dealing with a little bit of a knee thing. AJ Dillon dealing with a little bit of a knee thing, but nothing that I think is going to be that serious. On the Green Bay side of the ball, you're firing up Aaron Rodgers if you have him. You probably invested a little bit too much in him for what he's performed so far. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, they are the leaders of this team. They are producing all of the points for Green Bay. They are doing just phenomenal. Alan Lazard came back to a touchdown, which is nice to see. Romeo Doubs has been involved, which is nice to see. Outside of that, I'm really excited about Jones and Dillon. I feel like this is going to be a game where they're going to be able to really take hold of this offense and move it forward. Lazard and Dobbs, I feel like Green Bay's not going to have to throw the ball a lot in this game. So those guys could have depressed scoring, but if anybody's going to be getting the ball, it's going to be in terms of the pass catchers, it's going to be Lazard or Dobbs. On the New England side of the ball, I am not touching Hoyer.
Nobody.
I'm not touching Parker. I'm not touching
Nobody.
Jacoby Myers. The only plays I would be making are Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. And even those, I'm thinking, what other options do I have? Because it's probably not going to be pretty. I think Ramondre is the most startable player out of all of the players here. And that's
Ramondre.
hoping.
No.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's hoping that he's the pass catching back and he gets a bunch of Hoyer checkdowns. So
I'm not. I can't say to start anyone on New England with any level of confidence. I avoid New England Patriots unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, and we've spent enough on New England.
Yeah.
Let's keep
let's go. The last of the Sunday afternoon games: Denver at Las Vegas. Let's see. As far as injuries on the Denver side, I don't see any big names. On the offensive side for the Raiders, Foster Moreau, Hunter Renfrow did not practice Wednesday. Devontae Adams came out and said he was unhappy with how things are going in Las Vegas. So that's not going to impact his the percent of offense he is, right? They're going to feed him the ball. What it's going to impact is him up here and how he's going to respond to not getting the ball or a drop here or there, right? He's unhappy, but he's going to get his, and he's a guy. I'm starting Devontae Adams, no questions asked. I'm starting Darren Waller, no questions asked. Derek Carr is a super flex quarterback, without a doubt. Josh Jacobs is kind of, I don't know what to do with him. If you have better options, you should start them. I just haven't seen it yet out of Jacobs. He's just been kind of consistently inconsistent is the best way that I can put it. The Denver offense, man, they more questions than the Raiders offense, to be honest. Russell Wilson hasn't looked himself, just hasn't seemed to get on the same page as his wide receivers. Now, granted, they've been hurt. But you have Cortland Sutton, you have Javonte Williams, you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Melvin Gordon, you have Albert O. I mean, Gordon, Jeudy, Williams, Sutton, and Wilson are all projected to put up double-digit points. I think one of them gets there. I just don't know which one. And I can't say for sure, start Cortland Sutton, start Jerry Jeudy, start Javonte. I don't know. This offense is just so – they're not bad. They're just – they haven't gelled yet. Right, I know it's only week 4, so maybe give it a couple more weeks before you can confidently say this offense is clicking. I just don't see it.
Yeah, but, and they're all just right in the same spot.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
All right, on to KC and
stuff,
Tampa Bay now.
Sunday night game. Yeah.
All right, Sunday night game should be a good one. KC and Tampa. We have Mahomes and Brady squaring off. I think you could start both of those quarterbacks. I think you probably will be starting both of those quarterbacks. You're going to be starting Travis Kelce. You're going to be starting probably Clyde Edwards-Helaire and maybe Juju, depending on where you actually what your team kind of looks like. On the Tampa Bay side of the ball, it looks like Mike Evans is going to be back for this one. So that should be good because of the suspension. He was out one game. He should be back, which is really going to help Brady out because it looked like he really needed that star wide receiver in week 3. You're going to be starting Leonard Fournette. And then outside of that, maybe a dart throw at Julio Jones, especially in DFS. It looked like he was getting involved and then kind of dealt with a little bit of an injury thing.
He was limited. He was limited at practice yesterday, so I mean, you got to watch. But
yeah, I mean, him getting to limited is moving in the right direction. But I mean, this game is projected to be the second highest scoring game in terms of fantasy points. It's projected pretty much in the middle in terms of actual scoring for Vegas. So it's going to be a good game. I am pretty much starting everyone that I have that is a starter on their team on my fantasy teams. There's not much hesitancy. And then I think you have some sneaky DFS plays that you could throw in there with like a Julio Jones and a Jerick McKinnon and even possibly a Cameron Braid if he falls into the end zone. So a lot of fun there. Not really a whole lot of analysis though, because start your guys.
I think McKinnon is a guy because he's getting some good run in Kansas City. He's a guy you should be having on your watch list or on your bench because he's been involved. You're not getting the production, right? But he's getting involved. And if you could look up usage real quick there, Seth, for Kansas City and Jerick McKinnon, that would be fantastic. Because I think he's the guy that I've tried to stash everywhere I can on the off chance that either they increase his usage more or there's an injury ahead of him and he becomes the lead back.
Yeah, so his usage is between 12 and 15% every week so far. So it's not been
getting some consistency there.
Right. It's not been anything that's been outrageous. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't been like stellar either, but he's been the lead of the team, except for week 1 where Isaiah Pacheco got a like stunning 17% of the offense. Yeah. Other than that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been the number 1 and been the number 1 by quite a bit. Yeah. And then right below him is Travis Kelce, who you would kind of expect. And then Jerick McKinnon's right up there with, like Juju and MVS kind of flutter in and out of who's the main guy there. But it's CH, Travis Kelce, and then pretty consistently Jerick McKinnon at that 10 to 15% of the offense.
All right, thank you. All right, let's get to the Monday night game. There's not much in terms of an injury report yet because it is Thursday, so you'll have to monitor both LA and San Fran as we lead into Monday Night Football. You're going to start your studs here, right? Deebo Samuel, absolutely. Cooper Kupp, absolutely. Matt Stafford, absolutely. Jimmy G shaping up as a potential super flex option. I'm not sold on it just yet.
You hold your nose and you put them in your lineup.
Yeah. You have a drink, you watch the game, and you hope something good happens. Yeah. Jeff Wilson is leading the San Francisco backfield. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, all guys projected to put up double-digit points. I don't have a problem if you're going to start any of them. Just temper the expectations because the San Fran offense has been very up and down. They haven't quite put it back together with Jimmy G yet because they spent so much time with Trey Lance. So give it another week or two, and I think we see the San Fran offense start to pick things up a little bit. And on the LA side, again, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Tyler Higbee, yes. A-Rob, questionable. And then the biggest question for me is Akers and Henderson. Who's going to get the run? Who's going to get the lion's share of the carries there? It's been Akers the last couple of weeks. I suspect he is the guy moving forward, but Henderson is there. He can produce if Akers is healthy. He can produce if Akers isn't healthy. So I have no problem I'm starting Darrell Henderson in a couple of leagues.
Yeah, and I'm going the other way. I'm going with Cam Akers because Cam Akers has actually been he's been more involved in the offense and actual plays designed for him. So, people are looking at like, snap percentages and stuff like that. Darrell Henderson has gone down each week in terms of the percent of the offense running through him, whereas Cam Akers was obviously super low in week 1 and then has been pretty consistent in above 25% the past 2 weeks. And so that's more than Cooper Kupp over the past 2 weeks. And so I don't think fantasy wise, you're going to be able to pinpoint each time who's going to be the guy. But I think I'm leaning towards Cam Akers potentially being the guy moving forward, seeing the decline in Henderson's actual offensive usage. But I don't know if there's a right answer to this one outside of flipping a coin and hoping you choose right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for the week 4 games. Hopefully we're able to provide you with a little bit of value, a little bit of analysis here. If you got questions, hit us up, hit the show up. We're at the Fantasy Facts. Seth is at FFB at Home Dad. I'm at Dynasty_Pat. And you can see Seth's screen in the background there. All that data comes from fantasydata.com. Use our promo code FAQS, FAQS at fantasydata.com. Get 20% off your subscription purchase. And with that, everyone enjoy week 4. We'll catch you next week.
Catch you on the flip side.